Hi, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of Ethics Philosophy 212. This is their summer course in 2020 for Finlandia University. I am Dr. Patricia Gross, and I am the Assistant Professor of Philosophy at Finlandia University, and I am looking forward to reviewing the complex ideas you'll be learning this week. But first, I did want to go ahead and look at the syllabus for just a hot minute. So I just the thing I wanted to go down. So you see, you click on the syllabus, it's all this information, yada, yada, yada. But then you'll get this. So this information is also available on the Canvas page, right? But you'll see the Canvas page, and I've tried to make it as clear as possible where it says, watch this thing, this is the lecture, read, watch, complete, take reading quiz, that kind of thing. So everything is, I try to make as clear as possible, but some people, it can be difficult to understand exactly what I mean. So this is another way of looking at the same thing, right? You can see here the course calendar, which are the dates, right? Then you can see what the reading is. Then you can see what the media is, right? And I've tried to provide all the YouTube links on actually the syllabus so you can find it, and that'd be great. So if there's a YouTube link, I have found it. Sometimes they just turn into links on their own. And you can see here, everything is all set up and ready to go. So and you can see the due dates and everything. So if you are feeling like you are a little lost on what is actually being asked of you, you can go ahead and check this out here. But that is enough of the syllabus. Let's get started, shall we? So your assignments for Monday, Tuesday, you're going to be reading Lewis Vaughn's Doing Ethics Chapter 3, Evaluating Moral Arguments. You're going to watch the Finland Doesn't Exist conspiracy theory video that comes from Good Mythical Morning, which I love that show. And then you're going to have to complete those discussion board assignments that I'm going to talk about with you in a little bit. Don't forget to do the reading quiz by Friday, and make sure you do the reading before the reading quiz. Those Vaughn chapters are available as PDFs on the website. So, evaluating moral arguments. Your reading this week comes from Lewis Vaughn's Doing Ethics. It's a really excellent text. And here's a quote from him that defines moral reasoning. Moral reasoning is ordinary critical reasoning applied to ethics. Critical reasoning, or critical thinking, is the careful, systematic evaluation of statements or claims. So, we're not just saying what right or wrong is in this class. We're looking to see how it's said. We're thinking through how one might decide something is true or false. So the rest of this chapter is kind of this really good primer on logic. And we're going to be actually talking about logic in our course. I just wanted to we're going to be talking about logic in my Philosophy 251 course that's going to be offered in the fall. You are welcome to take that course. I'm really excited to offer it here at Finlandia. Introduction to Logic is such a wonderful foundational course that can help you in whatever field you ultimately go into. But just some concepts from the text here. Statement is a claim or an assertion that something is or is not the case. It can be either true or false, right? An argument is a group of statements, one of which the conclusion is supposed to be supported by the rest, the premises. That is, an argument is a conclusion that is supported by premises, right? Indicator words are terms that often appear in arguments as a signal that a premise or conclusion might be nearby, so you might want to check out what those are. And probably the most reliable way to identify arguments, according to Vaughan, is to look for the conclusions first. When you know what claim is being supported, you can more easily see which statements are doing the supporting, right? So, this slide shows you two major, very important arguments that we're going to be talking about more in my logic class, but in our case here, you have deductive arguments and inductive arguments. They're both good forms of argumentation, but deductive arguments show that the conclusion must be true, and inductive arguments show that conclusions are likely to be true. And finally, you get to this idea of moral statements and non-moral statements. A moral statement is a statement. Remember, a statement's like a clause or a phrase it's not quite a sentence because a statement can have multiple statements in one sentence. But basically, a statement is something that can either be true or false. A moral statement is a statement that affirms that an action is right or wrong, or that a person or their motive or character is good or bad, right? A non-moral statement does not affirm that an action is right or wrong, or that a person or a person's motive or character is good or bad. They merely state whether something is true. Just because someone makes a moral statement obviously doesn't make that moral statement true as well. So the next few slides, and we're not going to go over them in detail, but you'll need to look at them on your own. Check. They give you different ways to test a moral premise, right? A moral premise is something that you'd have in an argument. If this thing is right, then therefore something else must be right. So you're going to want to make sure when you're looking at a moral argument that you actually believe and accept the moral premises that are given in that argument. Yeah, I'm not going to actually go over these. This slide has a list of fallacies, which will also be very important. What I've done here is I've created these slides to help you when you're studying and to look at it more clearly. I don't need to go over and lecture on it, but in this particular week, it's more like, hey, read these texts. This is going to be really helpful for you, and I'm really looking forward to see what you do with the discussion board and homework assignments. Here's some more fallacies. Okay, writing and speaking about moral issues. This is a good slide for that. It's helpful. Check it out. Okay, now we get to the what I wanted to get to. So this is the discussion board assignment for Monday, Tuesday. If we come over here, we can actually see it. Right there's the link to Finland doesn't exist. So you have to watch the YouTube clip Finland doesn't exist as well as read the text. Then you have to identify the logical fallacies that are present in the clip. Then you have to choose a PowerPoint slide between pages 20. The pages might be wrong, right? But you have to choose one of the pages of the slide and review the corresponding section of the text. Then you must write a post that introduces the concepts from your slide and provide 2 questions for your colleagues about this concept. That's complicated, right? So basically what you have to do, all the slides I kind of just like went over briefly, right? So this is page 36. I think it started up here. It started here. So between page 29 and 36, I'll go ahead and edit that right now. So it actually, not all the stuff will say the correct thing, but I'll go ahead and have it be correct for you right now. But between page 29 and 36, there's been a bunch of different slides. So choose a slide, and then you have to introduce the concepts to your fellow students, right? So again, you're responsible for reading the text, but in this way, you're responsible for helping each other understand what's going on in the text, right? That's due by Tuesday, 11:59 p.m., and you have to respond to each of your colleagues' posts, probably by those questions that they've provided, the 2 questions about the concept, by Friday at 11:59 p.m. Let's move on. That was kind of quick. I'm sorry. I've lost my place. Bad arguments, strawman. Those are the fallacies you're looking for. Yes. Okay. So that's the discussion boards. In the week 2 assignments, for Thursday and Friday, you're going to be reading chapter 4 of Louis Vaughn's Doing Ethics. It's the Power of Moral Theories. And you're going to be watching the movie Ex Machina, which is on Netflix. The link is on the Canvas page. A note on the film, there is some nudity in the film. In my opinion, it's not quite sexual. They're androids, but it's actual women actors. But they're portraying androids, and some of the androids are nude in different places, or they're not wearing clothing. If you'd like a breakdown of when the nudity occurs so that you can look away, please let me know. There is also some violence in this film. But please watch this film, and then you have to complete the discussion boards and take the dreaded reading quiz, which is open book and open note and open timed. You just have to take it in one sitting. I'm going to take a sip of Diet Coke. Hold on a second. It's so good. Diet Coke is not a sponsor of this lecture, but if they wanted to, they're more than welcome to. I went to Emory University, which is, the joke is it's the university that Coke built. But in any case, let's go on. Okay, Louis Vaughn's Doing Ethics, Chapter 4, The Power of Moral Theories. This chapter focuses in more heavily on different moral theories. This will provide a helpful backdrop to the moral theories we'll learn about this term. I'm not going to go too far into what every slide on this says. Again, this lecture is actually not here to tell you to be the be-all and end-all of everything, but I have put a lot more information on the slides to kind of help you in your reading of the text. But a moral theory is an explanation of what makes an action right or wrong, or what makes a person or thing good. They're concerned with the goodness of a person or thing's or the rightness or wrongness of action. So it's theories of value, theories of obligations. Moral theory explains what makes an action right, and a moral code is simply a set of rules. Considered moral judgments are carefully made moral judgments about cases and issues. So this is the big thing. There are consequentialist theories. What makes an action right is the consequences of that action. That is the amount of good it produces. And there are non-consequentialist theories. The rightness of an action does not depend on the consequences of an action, right? This makes it kind of look that there's only consequentialist and non-consequentialist theories, but actually there are plenty of theories that are neither, right? So Aristotle's virtue ethics doesn't have to do with consequences or non-consequences. So we'll get into this, but consequentialist theories are John Stuart Mill, and non-consequentialist theory we're going to look into is Kant. And speaking of Mill, so this slide tells us a little bit more about utilitarian or consequentialist theories, utilitarianism, utilitarianism, rule utilitarianism, and ethical egoism. But mostly the important thing to know as well on this slide is that consequentialist theories say that what makes an action right is the consequences of the action, right? It's kind of like if you accidentally saved a drowning child, right? But what you had wanted to do was steal its money, right? But so you saved it so you could steal from it. Well, as long as you saved the kid, that's like a morally good thing you did. Well, the response to this silly example that I've given you is a non-consequentialist theory that says the rightness of an action does not depend on the consequences of the action. So this has to do with my little example. If I had wanted to rob a child and then saved it from drowning so that I could rob it, I don't get credit or brownie points for saving the child. I was already being a jerk. So on this slide, you can find Kant's categorical imperative, which we're going to get into, natural law theory, divine command theory. Again, the text is giving a good background of what's going on in ethics, and this is going to be helpful for us as we move forward. And then finally, Vaughan gives us 3 helpful criteria for evaluating ethical theories. One, if you look at an ethical theory, you have to see that does it have consistency with your own considered moral judgments. If you read a moral theory and it goes against everything you've ever believed, you're allowed to pause at that. You're allowed to say, I don't know about this, guys. Maybe we should look into it, right? It's possible that you're wrong, right? It's possible for you to change your opinions of something you've held dear for a long time. But if something goes super against your personal, your considered moral judgments, the things you've already thought about, then it might be something that you want to look a little bit more closely to. I just winked for some reason, but I don't have my camera on, so you can see the wink. But just so you know, I winked. Criterion 2 that Vaughan gives us is that does it have consistency with our moral experiences? Does it of our actual experiences in everyday life? Does this work with that? And then finally, when we're evaluating a moral theory, we want to look at its usefulness in moral problem solving, because ultimately, as wonderful as universal systems of thought are, sometimes they're not helpful in the day-to-day when we have real life problems, right? So go ahead and check out that a little bit more as you do the reading for this week. Let's talk about the discussion board activities. So you're reading the Vaughan, you're watching Ex Machina, it's on Netflix. The link to Netflix is here. I only just recently realized that it's very possible just to link to Netflix, and I feel like it's going to make everyone's lives easier. And so finally, you're going to complete week 2 discussion board, and don't forget to take that reading quiz. So again, the week 2 discussion board, it always looks long, right? I don't want you to think that I've got a wild amount of work for you to do, but this all is important to look at, but it is also just kind of guiding you, right? These are guiding ideas. This is a guiding rubric. It's why I call it self-assessment. So chapter 4 of Louis Vaughan's Doing Ethics, The Power of Moral Theories, is meant to introduce you to different kinds of moral theories, most of which we will discuss in our class in depth. The film Ex Machina explores the ethical status of artificial creatures. Write 1 paragraph answers to each of the following questions. Do you have a moral code? What is it? Describe a moral judgment that is made in the film Ex Machina. How was this memorial decision made? Etc., etc. Each of you must respond to each of your classmates' threads, though you only need to respond to one or two of their answers, right? The original post is due by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, and your responses to your classmates' threads are due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday. And you only need to respond to one or two of their answers. Um, you know, I go back and forth about whether or not we should just have one mega discussion board for each week. I split them up because it was getting kind of hard to, it's hard to figure out who's posted what when. Not on my end, I can see everything that you do, but on your end, it's hard to kind of keep track of people. So I've decided to split them up. If it's complex and difficult, just let me know. And if you really want to have like a face-to-face conversation and you want a Zoom session or something, you can let me know about that too. I'm open. I'm open for change, but right now this is what the course looks like. And if you want to have an office hours visit to talk about any of these concepts, just let me know. I mean, I'm around. Like, I would love to have an office hours visit, and I'm free a lot. So if all you have to do is just let me know, and I can be here, and I will be here, and I will help you, and we will talk about ethics in person, and that will be awesome. Okay, well, I'm gonna get started on turning this into a YouTube video. I hope I become YouTube famous because I would like to become an influencer and go to the Webbies and meet Rhett and Link. Hopefully that happens. Are the Webbies still a thing? I have no idea. All right. Y'all have a wonderful week. Bye.